Okay, everyone, welcome. If you've got your GCSE Media Studies exam coming up and the Avengers is one of your set texts, then you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break down this absolute classic from the 1960s, giving you everything you need to smash that exam. So let's jump right in.
So let's kick things off with a number that really tells the story, £56,000. Now, today, that might not sound like a crazy amount, but back in the 1960s, that was the budget for a single episode of The Avengers. It just goes to show, right from the get-go, this wasn't some run-of-the-mill TV show. Nope, this was a massive, big-budget production designed to be a total showstopper.
And you know what? The show's ambition didn't just stop at the UK shores. Get ready for this number. $2 million. That's what a big American TV network shelled out for just 26 episodes. I mean, you can't overstate this. It was a huge deal. It made The Avengers the very first British show to ever get a primetime slot in the US. So we're not just talking about a hit show here. We're talking about a genuine global phenomenon.
Okay, so here's our revision roadmap. First up, we'll do a quick snapshot of the show. Then, and this is super important, we'll dive into the context. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of media language, then take a closer look at our main duo, Steed and Peel. And finally, we'll ask, why was everyone watching this? Trust me, if you can get your head around these 5 things, you'll be well on your way to a brilliant analysis in your exam.
Right then, Section 1, The Avengers, a snapshot. Let's get the basics locked in. As you know, The Avengers is a key case study, and the episode you really need to know inside and out is The Gravediggers from 1965. That's your focus.
So what kind of show are we even talking about here? Well, it fits into this really cool, unique genre called spy-fi. Just think of it like this. It's James Bond's cool, suave spy world, but then you throw in a bunch of quirky, sometimes bizarre, science fiction elements. And here's a crucial detail for your exam. It was produced for ITV, a commercial channel. So what does that tell us? It tells us that above all else, this show was designed to pull in huge audiences. It needed to be a smash hit to get those advertising deals.
Okay, moving on to Section 2. And seriously, lean in for this part, because understanding context is where you pick up the big marks. You just can't talk about the Avengers in isolation. To get this show, you have to get 1960s Britain. The context is everything. It's the why behind the stories, the characters, and why it was such a massive success.
And to make it easy, we're going to break that context down into 3 key areas: the historical, the social, and the cultural. These are the 3 lenses you should be using in your essays.
All right, first up, historical context. So just imagine Britain at the time. The country's still recovering from World War II. The British Empire is fading away. There's a real sense of uncertainty in the air. People were desperate for a bit of escapism. And bam, along comes the Avengers with this cool, confident, almost fantasy version of Britain. And then you've got the Cold War simmering in the background, this constant paranoia about spies and hidden enemies. This is all over The Gravediggers, right? The whole plot revolves around a secret radar system being sabotaged. So Steed and Peel aren't just fighting bad guys. They're restoring order and protecting this idealized vision of Britain from these invisible threats.
Okay, next up, the social context. And wow, was it a time of tension. Let's talk gender roles. The standard view was that a woman's place was in the home, as a housewife. And then, in walks Emma Peel. She's smart, she's independent, she's a complete game changer. Then you've got class. The class system was still a huge deal, and Steed is the perfect example. He's your classic upper-class English gentleman. And all of this is set against this massive generation gap, you know? The clash between old, traditional values and the new, permissive society of the swinging 60s.
And that brings us to the cultural context. We're talking about the swinging 60s. Pop culture was exploding. Emma Peel became a genuine fashion icon, and the whole vibe of the show had that cool James Bond-esque sophistication. But get this, think about what TV was like back then. There were only 3 channels, so when a show was a hit, it wasn't just a hit, it was a national conversation. The whole country would be watching. The stories were also what we called closed narratives. That just means each episode is its own little adventure that gets wrapped up by the end. Perfect, easy to watch, appointment television for the whole family.
Okay, Section 3. Time to get a little bit technical. We're talking about media language. Now, I know that sounds like a scary exam term, but honestly, it's not. It's just the fancy name for all the tools and techniques, like camera work, sound, editing, that creators use to tell a story and make us, the audience, feel a certain way. So if you need a simple definition for the exam, just think of it like this. Media language is the creator's toolkit. Simple as that.
Now, let's open up that toolkit and see how the Avengers actually use these techniques.
This table is your perfect cheat sheet. So let's look at the camera work. You'll see a lot of steady, static shots, which gives a sense of control. But then they'll suddenly use a low-angle shot to make a villain look more threatening. And the lighting? It's classic stuff. Low-key, shadowy lighting when things are sinister, and then bright, high-key light when our heroes are safe. The sound is fascinating, actually. Because of the tech at the time, they couldn't really record sound outdoors, so that non-diegetic musical score has to do all the heavy lifting to build tension. And finally, mise-en-scène, a great term to use. It's basically everything in the shot. And here, it's absolutely crucial. Steed's bowler hat, Peel's catsuit. They're not just clothes, are they? They're character-defining icons.
All right, let's get into Section 4, Steed versus Peel and the idea of representation. Because John Steed and Emma Peel aren't just two cool spies. Oh no. They are walking, talking symbols of the massive changes and clashes happening in 1960s society.
And this chart just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got John Steed. He's the traditionalist, the upper-class gent with his bowler hat representing the old guard of British values. And on the other side, Emma Peel. She's the future. She's independent, a martial arts expert, intellectually his equal, if not superior. She is the swinging 60s. The two of them together are basically the decade's biggest arguments personified.
But, and this is the kind of critical thinking that'll get you the top marks, was Emma Peel really that progressive? It's a great question to ask in your essay. I mean, yes, she's this amazing, independent woman. But then again, she's often dressed in that catsuit, which is clearly designed to appeal to a male audience, right? And think about it. How often, despite all her skills, does she end up as the classic damsel in distress who needs Steed to rescue her? That's the big debate you can explore. Is she a true feminist icon, or is she what a 1960s male writer thought a feminist icon should be?
And another really crucial point of analysis is to talk about who isn't represented. The world of the Avengers is overwhelmingly white. There's a complete lack of ethnic diversity, and no representation of anyone who isn't straight. Now, of course, this was pretty standard for mainstream TV in the 1960s, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't talk about it. It's a really important critical point to make about the version of Britain the show presents.
Okay, we're on to our final section, the big question. Why on earth was everyone watching this show? What was the appeal? To answer that, we're going to bring in a really useful bit of media theory that helps us understand exactly what audiences get out of the media they consume.
The theory you need to remember is Blumler and Katz's uses and gratifications theory. Sounds complex, but the idea is super simple. Audiences are active, and we use media to satisfy certain needs, or gratifications. For the Avengers, you can see all four in play. First, there's personal identity. People saw characters like Steed and Peel as role models. Then, information. It gave viewers a peek into this exciting, glamorous world of spies. Third, and this is maybe the most important one for this show, entertainment and escapism. It was the perfect, colorful fantasy to escape from the worries of the real world. And last but not least, social interaction. Like we said, with only 3 channels, it was something the whole nation could talk about the next day at work or school.
So my big exam tip for you is this. Get Blumler and Katz into your essay. Seriously. If you can use their theory to explain why the show was so popular, you're showing the examiner that you can apply theory, and that is a surefire way to boost your grade. It's an easy win.
And that's a wrap. So as you continue your revision, here's the big question I want to leave you with. Was the Avengers just pure escapist fun, a colorful fantasy world, or was it actually reflecting a very real, very conflicted Britain that was going through a massive identity crisis? The truth, as always, is probably somewhere in the middle, and exploring that tension is exactly what will make your essay stand out. Okay, that's it from me. Best of luck with your revision.